Imagine a major environmental disaster. Over 10 million gallons of oil pouring into the pristine waters of Alaska. Or a chemical plant explosion hurling flames hundreds of feet into the sky. Or a lethal chemical leak that requires evacuation of an entire neighborhood. Now imagine that you can't leave town. Your job is to enter the contaminated area, clean it up, and make it safe for public use, despite the risk. It's definitely not an easy mission, but it's all part of the job for the Coast Guard's National Strike Force. Since 1973, this special branch of the Coast Guard has been responsible for oil and hazardous substance removal, emergency response, even counterterrorism. Based in the Gulf, the Atlantic, and the Pacific regions of the U.S., these teams consist of highly specialized individuals. This means their training can get intense. We had an opportunity to see just how strenuous their work can be when we visited the Pacific Strike Team's facility in Novato, California.
In this case today, we had some abandoned drums, which were set near a population area and also in a schoolyard.
The abandoned drums were pre-staged to simulate illegal dumping, but the strike team treats the exercise as a real response. Crews prepare their equipment while safety officers survey the area with binoculars. Their goal is to gather as much information as possible from the labels on the drums before a work zone is established.
Due to the fact that we obviously had some pretty nasty chemical that we were dealing with, the hazards that were associated with it led us to the fact that we had to use Level A to go in to investigate those drums.
Level A is the highest form of protection available to the strike team. In a case like this, where potentially lethal chemicals are involved, it's a necessity. The entry team will wear fully encapsulated suits with a self-contained breathing apparatus. The suit and SCBA eliminate the risk of any air or substance penetration.
What we're doing right now is we're making preparations to do our initial entry into the hot zone. We're checking all our communications, making sure our radios are working properly. We have Petty Officer Roberts, who is over there making sure that everybody's medical monitoring.
The suits are made of plastic and Tyvek, and there's just absolutely no breathing room in them. So with losing all this fluid, your vital signs start changing. Your temperature increases, your blood pressure could decrease, your pulse could start increasing, and those could be dangerous signs. And a lot of times people, their adrenaline is flowing and they don't realize that these things are happening to them. So we need to keep on monitoring that to avoid any kind of complications.
You can't just jump in Level A suit and go out there. You got to put a bunch of undergarments on. In case you do get breakthrough through the Level A suit, you got to have some protection underneath as well. So it's a somewhat timely process.
Put a little more tape on. Okay?
Feel like you're walking in a big plastic bag on a windy day in a sauna, and you're all scrunched up, you can't stand up. You can't really get comfortable with it. I've never met anybody who said that they're used to it. You just kind of got to jump in Level A, go do your thing, and hopefully you can get it done soon enough so you can get back out of there and get some fresh air. Well, the LEL is 0. Which way you want to fan? To the right? You want to do a circle around these?
As the entry team reaches the hot zone, their first task is to monitor the area for radiation, explosive gases, and other organic or inorganic vapors.
Yeah, we're still reading 0 on the LEL. Nothing above background. Once we got our readings and we established what we had, we backed out. We got some sampling equipment, and we went out and sampled the 2 drums that actually had product in them. We used what's known as a drum thief, basically just a big glass tube, kind of like taking a straw into a soda drink, putting your thumb on it, and pulling out a sample and putting it in another container. Once we had our samples, we then left the exclusionary zone through the decontamination zone. We had to shed all of our Level A gear, get all cleaned up. They just want to make sure you're not carrying any of that contamination out with you, as well as not having any on you due to health concerns, of course.
The entry team must be re-evaluated by medical personnel once they leave the decontamination zone. In the meantime, the samples are run through a series of tests.
Yeah, after going through the series of tests, actually what we found out, the product that was in the drums wasn't what we thought it was due to the markings on the drums. Turns out it's a hydrocarbon product called hexane, which its biggest problem is basically its flammability. And it could be an explosive type situation since it's contained in a drum like that.
With this information, the strike team can safely remove the drums or call for assistance from another agency licensed for hazardous waste disposal.
There's days when we put in 15 to 18 hours of just constant back breaking, deadbeat at the end of the day type work.
Every response we go on, we are helping the community, we're helping other national, state, local, federal agencies, and the thankfulness and the fulfillment we get with the job is worth any risk.
It's evident that highly dedicated personnel remain the heart of the National Strike Force. For close to 25 years, these men and women have been protecting not only our environment, but the public as well. Their hard work and impact on some of the largest environmental emergencies has saved lives, property, and natural resources all around the country.